The Mexican blood has proven its worth in multiple sports disciplines. However, throughout history, prejudice towards the abilities or capabilities of its representatives has not been eradicated. In the midst of the new millennium, Juan Manuel Marquez was attacked, casting doubt on his prowess as a boxer and disrespecting his recent victories by a rival who claimed to have enough to snatch the crown with a single punch. With the threat taken seriously, the Aztec warrior waited until the final moments to show that, in the ring, words don't matter if you can't defend them with a fighting style worthy of becoming a true champion. Welcome. In today's video, we will tell you how the American, Rocky Juarez, had to swallow his words after being reduced to dust in a 12-round encounter that never lost its spark as Marquez took care to add the necessary touches to keep the flame alive. Not much time had passed since Juan Manuel Marquez won the super featherweight title from the World Boxing Council, snatching it from the picky, hard-hitting Marco Antonio Barrera, and it was already time to start defending it.
Uppercut for Marquez. Left hook. Barrera stunned. Now Barrera gets in a left hook.
Proving that he was truly a king worthy of wearing the crown. Many contenders were rumored to be the first on the list of possible opponents for Marquez, but the official announcement called Rocky Juarez, a native of Texas, a fierce boxer difficult to control in the ring, and as an opponent, a man already seasoned in the discipline. Finally, on November 3, 2007, this encounter would take place right at the Desert Diamond Casino in Tucson, Arizona, United States. To serve as judges for this contest, Chris Wilson, Robin Dalpier, and Bert A. Clements were called, leaving the refereeing in the hands of Robert Ferrara with the hope of achieving a clean fight from the fists of these two great boxing exponents. Rocky felt confident from the start that he could prematurely end Marquez's reign with a record of 27 victories, 19 of them by knockout, and only 3 losses. He made sure to leave no doubts about how he perceived the Mexican, a toy champion. However, the Dynamite Marquez was received in the ring as a true champion. His record of 47 victories, with 35 of them by knockout, only 3 losses, and a draw gave him the confidence he needed to ignore any verbal attack and focus on launching his own on his opponent's body. The opening bell rang, and Rocky came out of his corner with great aggression to test Marquez's guard. Exchanging control of the center of the ring, it was evident that a great fight was beginning.
Grande también como fue el Barreta. El público estaba volcado completamente aquí.
A miscalculated approach caused Juarez a cut over his left eye, a wound that could take its toll in the later stages of the match, especially due to the prominent bleeding.
Y con los 2 brazos fue golpeado durísimo. Buena derecha.
Ahí está sangrando, parece que tiene un corte en la ceja. A ver, ahí está, sí está cortado.
In the second round, Juan Manuel was the target of a significant left punch thrown by Rocky, which seemed to land on his face without turbulence. The champion needed to rethink his stance if he didn't want to let the American advance enough to claim what was his. It seemed that Juarez's bomb had awakened his inner warrior. With a more aggressive offense, he was seeking the right punch to connect with Rocky's cut to take advantage of the advantage created by the accidental cut.
Siempre estorba una cortada, ¿no, Carlos?
Eso le iba a dificultar su visión, pero cuidado con el golpeteo.
Juarez would not allow his wound, at risk of opening much more, to stop him, and during the third round, he continued actively seeking to destroy the Dynamite's defense while using his clean footwork to move around the ring, escaping his opponent's attacks.
Ha ido subiendo de divisiones, ¿no?
Sí, es cierto, sí. Bueno, golpe sobre derecha por parte de Juan Manuel. Por parte de Juan Manuel, Carlos.
República Dominicana de Agapito Sánchez.
Sí.
By the fourth round, the hope of ending the fight with an early knockout was fading. The barrage of punches from one direction to another seemed endless, and from this moment on, anyone who wanted to dominate the pace of the fight had to make sure not to exhaust themselves enough to lack the strength and energy needed to tame their opponent.
Tal vez del tiempo, querido don José Solano. Bueno, aquí estamos con esta pelea.
En Tucson, Arizona. Ahí tratando.
Marquez's orthodox punching power began to tilt the balance in his favor during the 5th round. With occasional attacks landing on his body orchestrated by Juarez, Juan Manuel proved to be a master in the art of counterattacking, throwing 2 punches for every one he received.
Derecha y otra vez Juan Manuel de izquierda y el llaveo en doble oportunidad.
Siempre armadita, siempre cerradita. Es difícil entrarla.
Tarda y batalla en acomodarse Rocky Juarez.
In the middle of the agreed-upon episodes for the match, the aggressive style with which Rocky had presented himself at the beginning of the fight began to change. Now, his biggest challenge was to try to stop the aggressive Aztec warrior seeking revenge for being mocked, and he didn't always seem to succeed. Throughout the 7th round, Marquez not only demonstrated good offensive and defensive technique but also combat intelligence by recognizing when it was time to advance, throwing powerful punches, and when to step back, keeping his guard up. A factor that surely began to influence a good score towards his top-level boxing performance.
No, Samuel, mira, yo creo que así como van las cosas, sigue ganando la.
Quien le mandamos un saludo porque no.
Right-left seemed to be the default configuration for the Dynamite during the 8th episode, which increasingly often accompanied powerful punches wearing down Juarez's momentum.
También Rocky Juárez tiene lo suyo, muy fácil.
Derecha, izquierda, y ahí estaba Rocky respondiendo.
Bien. Ya, termina este round. Otro round para Marquez. Tengo juicio, le dice.
Buena derecha de Márquez, pleno a la cara de Rocky Juárez.
For Rocky, this fight was sold to him as the opportunity of his life, but after 7 tough rounds, he occasionally managed to land a good punch, causing modest damage to his rival. Entering the last third of the contest, he needed to reorganize his ideas if the cut over his brow hadn't already distracted him enough. Juarez cautiously emerged from his corner at the beginning of the 9th round. Clinging to his defense, he rarely attacked a Marquez who maintained the spirit with which he had opened the fight. The fighter, who categorized himself as a tough opponent for Marquez for the 10th round, only represented the figure of a boxer trying to make it to the end on his feet, not to win the match. Going at a steady pace, Rocky avoided stepping on the accelerator and getting close to the Dynamite, trying not to be hit by any sequelae of punches he had already received in his body, chin, and head in previous episodes. At the end of the round, Juarez's wound widened severely. Back in his corner, every effort was made to treat it, but the bleeding seemed far from stopping. With only 2 rounds remaining, Rocky went out to take a risk and pushed Marquez against the ropes, who escaped with the certainty of his counterattack and regained control of the center of the ring. Closing the episode, Rocky received another right hook directly on his wound. Marquez, who already seemed to have the fight in the palm of his hands, was not going to let the slightest opportunity pass to harm the opponent who had shown no mercy in his comments before the match.
Es para este gran Juan Manuel Márquez, que acumulaba puntos, mi estimado Carlitos Ávila.
Prácticamente un solo amarre, ya agoniza este round.
Even during its last episode, the fight remained interesting. Rocky kept looking for opportunities to inflict damage, but Marquez maintained his firm stance. With no intention of leaving any doubts about why he was the champion, he punished for the last time against the ropes a Rocky who, after 12 tough rounds, was not the shadow of the confident boxer who had stepped into the ring.
De Marquez, que está cerrando con todo, lo tiene sobre la soga.
Y no recibir castigo, Carlos Ávila.
Ahí anteriormente unos buenos movimientos. El Rocky Juárez dice, vamos, yo también le doy.
The announcement of the jury's decision acted as the reaffirmation that Marquez needed to clear his name and leave his reputation intact. The one who had been called a toy champion won by unanimous decision against a Rocky Juarez who, as his best weapon, had only used his tongue to cause some damage. After the stir caused by the statements in the press conferences before the fight, Juarez had only stepped into the ring to prove he was not up to his words. Completely tamed by the Aztec warrior, he had to spend more time training and less time talking if he wanted any real chance of beating a true champion. If you've made it this far, we thank you. Also, we remind you that the best way to support our content is by liking the video and subscribing to our channel, activating the notification bell so that YouTube notifies you when there's a new fight for you. For now, we say goodbye, but not without asking you what you thought of the show that Juan Manuel Marquez and Rocky Juarez staged almost 20 years ago. We'll read your comments.